Can we talk about YouTube censorship? I've noticed that content creators are bleeping out certain words to avoid being demonized. I think they mean demonetized, or losing their account. I wonder if this is diluting our ability to talk candidly about sensitive topics and give it the proper level of gravity and respect. It's getting harder for me to follow what is being said when I have to piece together what is being said. I'm sure it's also frustrating for the people making videos too.
She had posted a comment on a TikTok creator's post in which the creator said that he, quote unquote, gave mascara to one of his friends, and she thought it was so good that she decided that she will give it to her other friend without his consent. So Julia Fox posted saying, "I feel bad for you, LOL." So, and then, to which he retorted, like, "Are you laughing about my sexual assault?" And that just completely threw everything off. She was big criticized because people say she is also chronically online, or a prominent TikTok user. But I guess the context is also that she is also sort of a beauty influencer. So for her, mascara wouldn't refer to anything else but the actual beauty product.
Hey, the lighting right now is terrible. So I was just listening to a horrible story on Rotten Mango of these men drugging and raping their wives and each other's wives, and this absolute hideous abuse and violation of trust. And the whole algospeak thing came up again.
So algospeak is sort of coded words that people use on social media platforms such as TikTok, Twitch, to sort of avoid AI content moderation.
What does corn mean?
Corn is sort of like a replacement for porn.
Oh, okay. Give us some more common algospeak examples.
So during this was especially prevalent on TikTok because I was watching a lot of content. So during the pandemic, when social media platforms were sort of trying to curtail sort of like pandemic-related misinformation, any sort of video that would feature the word pandemic would get flagged by the AI content moderation just because it would kind of equate it to misinformation. So to get around that, certain content creators would say panini.
Okay.
Panoramic, Panini Express, to sort of refer to that pandemic and sort of curtail AI content moderation without sort of getting flagged for it.
I hate it. I get it. I know that certain terms are not advertiser friendly.
One that I did around Halloween time that was synonyms for and euphemisms for death. And I was using, I went to the Los Angeles Haunted Hayride, so it was kind of a fun atmosphere, but it was all, synonyms for death.
So one of the things that the algorithm doesn't like is talking about mental health and neurodiversity. It's just science, but we can't say neurodivergent without our content being hidden or, even banned. So the context that I started with was learning about fertility fraud and the creator having to say swimmers instead of sperm. And I'm like, This is literally talking to parents and donor conceived people about their conception and the biological facts, the male sex cell. Like, that's what it's called. It's a sperm. Like, that's not a bad word. Having to use this coded language, this cutesy language, that sends the message that, these things are bad. We shouldn't be talking about them. Kind of makes them bad.
And YouTube doesn't like them. Instagram doesn't like them. TikTok, all of these platforms. And it's not censorship. These platforms are private entities that have the right to decide what can be on their platform.
An article from Men's Health, of all places, by Ro White called "Here's What Segs Means When You See It on Social Media" says, in 2021, TikTok announced that the company would be using an automated system to weed out videos that violate community guidelines. Now, when that system catches a video that violates the platform standards, the video is immediately removed. The creator then has to go through the appeals process if they want to get their video back on the app. The problem? Automated systems make mistakes. TikTok says that last year, the company's automated removal system had a false video removal rate of 5%. That might not sound like much, but when you consider just how much content is available on TikTok, it means the app removed millions of videos that did not violate the company's policies.
Like, we're just like beginning to like erase or just like dancing and tiptoeing around the thought of ever talking about anything negative. And that like scares me because we're like literally censoring ourselves. Because it's like, if TikTok, like, say TikTok like is shadow banning people for saying certain things, for bringing up certain topics like suicide, war, shit like that, like, that would be one thing. But to take that fear and let it apply to literally anything that we talk about online that's slightly negative or controversial, we're literally just censoring ourselves.
TikTok's automated system unfairly targets sex educators. The platform's most recent iteration of its community guidelines states, "We do not allow nudity, pornography, or sexually explicit content on our platform." Since the app sometimes uses an automated system to enforce its sex-related policies, sex-positive content, sex workers content, and sex education content gets unfairly swept off the platform. I noticed that the censorship on TikTok was much more severe than on other social media platforms I have done sex education on, says Eva Bloom, the sex educator behind the YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok accounts called @WhatIsMyBodyDoing. I've had multiple videos taken down for violating guidelines around talking about sexuality on TikTok.
So it's really interesting to see the way people are creative and adapt and change things. I've heard just blank spaces replacing words. I've heard other words used. Things have been spelled out, different phrasing.
I cut out some words, some of the more graphic words. I've seen some other YouTubers do it where they just kind of cut as soon as they say, you know, a certain word, but then you can still understand what I am saying. That way I won't get filtered through and automatically demonetized. I don't know if that will work, but I just wanted to try it for at least one video.
He told Brittany things like, "I wish you died in that accident. Go unalive yourself. You're a waste of space." And one night he told her, "I can't wait until they find you graped, and murdered in the desert."
Where I refer to a relationship between two people as a, quote, inappropriate relationship. But it would be, in a lot of people's personal opinions, that a better fitting word would be abuse, R-word, grooming. But for legal reasons, I will be calling it inappropriate relationship, even if I have differing personal opinions about certain situations.
Unfortunately, Mateas ended up abusing Florencia as well, and then he even ended up R-wording Florencia's 13-year-old disabled niece. It's horrible. I can't. When I read that, my jaw literally just fell to the floor. I mean, this guy is absolutely evil. He R-worded a 13-year-old.
No. Okay, and this last one that I want to speak on, this one is pretty sensitive. There is going to be like just a brief mention of the R word, rhymes with grape, is like a disclaimer encouraging people that if you are experiencing schmeidel thoughts, to contact a prevention hotline.
Somebody else was home with him. And how did he know for sure? He said because he would never be watching porno if anybody else was home.
Most gruesome crime, and I'm going to be talking about abuse, ape with the R in the front, violence, just everything horrific, okay?
Police found the bodies of Elaine and little Peter, both horrifically beat. The weapon is believed to be a baseball bat. There were signs that Elaine had been bound and duct tape, and she had been beat so horrifically that she went into labor, and the killer or killers had also beat the newborn baby to death. Investigators felt like the had most likely taken place.
People find ways to get around it, but at some point, I think it's important to call an event what it is.
We have to say things like nip nops instead of nipples. One of the things that many children's organizations recommend is, using the correct medical terms to prevent child abuse.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times abusers will use these cutesy terms and be like, you know, don't tell mommy that we touched your cookie. And you're like, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, that sounds cute. I mean, oh yeah, cookies are fine when they mean like vagina or vulva, like, which again are not dirty words. They're not bad words.
Right.
You would like need to say the word suicide, something like that. And it almost like, to me, takes away the credibility by not just saying what something is, like just saying unalive. Like, I think obviously we don't want to like just bombard people with like triggering content, but I think it's important to like you could just say trigger warning suicide and then get into it and start talking about whatever the topic is about suicide.
Stephanie Sue was using the term assault. She can't even say sexual assault. She has to say assault. And this isn't about her. You know, every YouTuber does it to some degree. It's just not enough.
The term, yeah. I would not go to an OBGYN who was like, check out the nip nops. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. I even saw a travel blogger write words like S @FE and D @NGROUS in an Instagram reel caption.
Right, when you're talking about something like sexual assault and you're saying grape, right? Some people might be like, I can't take this seriously because it always feels like it's bordering on a joke.
Because so many of the replacements and the things that are being replaced end up, the only word I can really think of is childish, just because of like the fact that you're softening language in a way.
I'm queer. I'm asexual. I'm almost 30 years old. Please do not make me call myself a leg booty.
I was in a social situation recently talking to like a 25-year-old woman, and she literally said unalived instead of dead multiple times. Like, we were talking about like some actor or celebrity, and she was like, oh, isn't he unalive? Yes, he's dead. Yes, he died. He died. Died.
Silly. Like, how silly do I have to get into describing something like, you know, washing cloth diapers? Like,
I was a victim of a child pornographer when I was a child. And I'm supposed to talk about that experience in my life and discuss what cheese pizza did to me. This is absolutely fucking ridiculous.
The term cheese pizza, for example, has been widely used by accounts offering to trade explicit imagery of children.
In the context where it grows a lot is usually in the terms of like child exploitation and human exploitation. A good example of that was cheese pizza, which in one of in those circles was coded words for like sharing child explicit content.
A rape victim should not have to go say, I was SA'd. You know, you don't go to the mother of a dead child and say, I'm sorry your child unalived themselves. Sometimes the wording, the phrasing matters. And I respect and appreciate the creativity and the thinking and the adaptation that creators and just people in comment sections have come up with to keep this alive, because we need to be talking about these things. These are important issues that need to be discussed. They cannot be hidden away, and that's exactly what these confines are doing.
it's, if you're just going to outright ban the word gun, we can't talk about, you know, the prevention of gun violence. You know, we can't make videos teaching kids, what do you do if you find a gun? I mean,
yeah,
here's what you do if you find a boom boom stick. I mean, is that as serious? Does that show how serious it is to children?
This TikToker called Khalil Green, where he quoted MLK quotes, but in the captions he would have to alter certain phrases like white, racist, things of that nature, just because while he's directly quoting Martin Luther King Jr., he still had to censor himself or the speech just so his videos wouldn't be flagged or potentially banned.
Instituting camping for abortion was an effort from Americans to identify that they could help provide abortion services without getting arrested. It's not accessible. Someone with dyslexia or other struggles with reading might have no idea how to interpret a word like segs if it shows up in a sentence. Someone relying on the audio only might not be able to understand if the automated voice reads out "lid dollar bean" instead of lesbian. What if English isn't someone's first language? How are they expected to keep up with the constant influx of terms like mascara or camping that don't sound anything like they actually mean? And honestly, even someone who just doesn't use TikTok, like me, encounters linguistic hurdles as they get left behind by this ever-shifting vernacular.
There are medical channels that can't get accurate information out because they can't use certain medical terms, actual medical terms. The proper use of a word is banned. So, I was a victim of child pornography at 6 years old. I was raped at 16. I went through a few things that I would accept the term assault, sexual assault, that don't necessarily have the same power as the rape did. I've been stalked, which, as far as I know, stalking is still an acceptable term to use. There are two men who, at one point in my life, I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with, who took their lives. They successfully killed themselves. They committed suicide. And we're not supposed to say that. One did it with a gun. And we're not supposed to say gun. We're in the United States dealing with horrendous gun violence and gun culture that can be safe and responsible, but we can't say the word gun. How are we supposed to get anywhere if we can't discuss anything? We need to talk about violence. We need to talk about assault. We need to talk about rape. We need to talk about child abuse. We need to be able to say pedophile. We need to be able to say these words to show our exact meaning. It softens rape to me when someone calls it assault. And that might just be my personal interpretation, but I'm probably not alone in it. And there are probably other terms that really bother other people. I've done some research. I keep meaning to actually do some video on algospeak and the reasons behind it, how it developed, examples of how it's used.
God only knows that my video with the word feminist in the title has gotten the most disgusting, vitriolic comments out of anything I've ever posted, even though every single one of my videos is a feminist video. Because I'm a feminist, there's just only one with the word feminist right in the title. Maybe if I had used the word flamingoist instead, I wouldn't appear on the dashboards of people who lurk on the internet just waiting for their chance to tell a feminist how wrong they are.
I've got pages and pages written, and I don't know, something about that recent video just angered me because there's so much violation of trust in that. When you choose to spend the rest of your life with someone, you share your home, your bed, your life, your bank account, you know, you're supposed to be able to trust that that person is going to protect you. To have them drug you and pass you around to be raped by strange men that he met online because he's getting off on it, that needs to be called something other than assault. And I just thought I'd do a little rant, express my feelings on it right now. Again, it's not about any creator. It's about the concept. So please share your thoughts, stay safe, listen to your instincts, and I will be back soon. Bye.
loved ones were blindsided and they don't want to believe that she could exit while pregnant. Why would she do that if she planned on exiting that night? That same day, she allegedly exited her life. She Snapchatted her coworker. I'm not saying these people cannot choose to self-exit. Sandra was likely pregnant with potentially, maybe, a married police officer's child and then happened to exit her own life while pregnant. His death was ruled a suicide, and that
stated that there was no proof of foul play in these 4 cases, per Newsweek. Furthermore, in an article entitled Reality Check, there's almost certainly no serial unaliver in Austin. Texas Monthly's Peter Hawley reported that many of the claims spreading online supporting the serial unaliver theory simply aren't true. Unfortunately, extremely racist tweets.
The prosecutors argued that Nerejuice had kidnapped Lisa so that he could intimately violate her.
Trigger warning for extreme violence, racism, and I'm not even exaggerating.
They abducted, tortured, raped, and killed women.
Didn't say the PEDO stuff. I don't know what other information you're implying.
Now, just because someone has multiple stab wounds, again, you can't just say that it's, homicide. You can't do that. There has been cases, now not a lot, but there's been cases where people have committed, I almost said it, they have taken their own lives.
Have to start using some code words, and we already do abbreviate certain things because we know that YouTube doesn't like those words, and I've gotten suggestions to hold signs up and do things like that because it's just beyond ridiculous. But anyways, we're going to try one of those code words today. So for unaliving, which I feel like is already code word enough, we are going to be using the term hopelessly sad. So when you hear me say hopelessly sad and give you kind of that look or that little wink, you're going to know what we're talking about, which is unaliving. So enough of that, guys. Let's get into this case.
Oh my God.